Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas, and we need to talk about Resident Evil 9. At this point, it's still a no-show. We've not had any official confirmation from Capcom. We are all pretty sure it exists. We've had leaks, we've had rumours, and we've had a lot of talk about it from content creators all over the internet. But there are things about it that nobody seems to agree on. Why can't we agree on what we think Resident Evil 9 should be about? The first thing is the open world rumour. I do not think Resident Evil will work in open world. Let you imagine something like Skyrim or Fallout or anything like that. It won't work. Capcom knows this, which is why I truly believe that Resident Evil 9 will not be open world. It will have open elements, but not an open world. When I say open elements, it won't be contained in like a mansion. I don't think there will be those narrow hallways, rooms you go in and out of. It won't go back to the roots of Resident Evil like Resident Evil 7 did. I think it will go much further than this. But the big question comes when you ask who should be the main character. Should there be two main characters? I genuinely think that Resident Evil 9 will go back to its roots to that degree, where you could play as either Chris or Jill. It would be sensible in that respect. If we look at Resident Evil 2, yes, we had Leon and Claire. This went back to the roots because it was exactly the same type as Resident Evil 2. So the original Resident Evil 2, you could play as Leon and Claire. That did it. Yes, it was different in Resident Evil 3, but who would be the characters? Now, we haven't really seen Jill in a long, long time. Are we due for a Jill sandwich? I think we're due for a Jill sandwich. Resident Evil 9 would benefit greatly if it took Jill Valentine as at least one of the main characters. I don't think they need to do what they did with Resident Evil 6, where they had multiple different campaigns and you had a choice of either or character, i.e. Helena or Leon. They don't need to do that. That was too overwhelming, it was too over the top. What they need to do is go not too far backwards and take inspiration from Resident Evil Village. I don't necessarily mean in the first person, however, you look at the way this was portrayed, just having a singular character of Ethan, however, the other multiple stories around him, especially with the DLC that you played as his daughter. Now, I don't necessarily mean that that's the way Resident Evil 9 has to go. You play as one person and then you play as another person. I would genuinely love to see both stories happen at the same time. Like where we had Claire and Leon in Resident Evil 2, you played Leon's story and then you could play Claire's story that happened at exactly the same time. And like I say, Jill would be a perfect fit here. But who would be the other character you will play as? There are many you could choose from. You've got Leon, you've got Chris, you've got Claire. Do you really want to see any of those again, or do you think it'd be a brand new character? We don't really want to see Billy from Resident Evil 0, but would we want to see Rebecca Chambers? Rebecca is one of those characters that has only ever really appeared mainly in one game, which is Resident Evil 0. Yes, she had a part in the original Resident Evil, but playable, it was just 0. And I don't think she would be a sensible choice. I think to really bring nostalgia home, the two playable characters will be Jill and Chris. Yes, I know we've seen Chris recently in Resident Evil Village, but that doesn't mean to say that he can't appear in Resident Evil 9. And I do genuinely think it will have Jill and Chris as the two playable characters. Now, will it be first person or will it be third person? Both of these games are incredible. There is no denying that Resident Evil 4 is an absolute classic, remade even better. And Resident Evil Village took Resident Evil to a whole new level. When the first person view was announced for Resident Evil 7, people were confused. People thought, what are we doing here? These are fantastic. This is modern Resident Evil. And we've all got Resident Evil 7 to thank for that. That was the one that truly brought Resident Evil back to its roots with a new twist. Now, if Capcom has any sense, they won't do first person as the main focus of the game. However, it would be good to get a first person view of it in a patch. Much in the same way that Village started off first person, but ended up with a third person patch in this Gold Edition, or by the time this Gold Edition came out. I think they genuinely need to stick with the third person view. So Resident Evil 9, what could the story be exactly? Well, it's come this far, And there have been rumours saying that Resident Evil 9 will be the last Resident Evil. But you know what? No, I do not think it will be the end of the story. I think Resident Evil 9 will evolve and start a new arc of the Resident Evil franchise. You'll end up with Resident Evil 10, Resident Evil 11, Resident Evil... It will keep going. And they will keep going as far as they can. A good example of this is if you look at Albert Wesker. He allegedly died in Resident Evil 5 a long time ago. However, his son was in Resident Evil 6. Could we see Jill's children, Chris's children, Leon's children, Claire's children? Could they be the next ones to go? After all, we've already seen Ethan's children in a DLC pack. I don't think Rose will appear again in Resident Evil. I think that's that done. However, to carry on the story, where will they go? The characters are getting older and older and older, which is why I can understand when people say they want Resident Evil or don't want it. They think it will end. Resident Evil 9 will be the end of Resident Evil. And you'll get other spin-offs. Maybe you'll get Resident Evil 00 before Resident Evil. You know what I mean. Maybe Capcom will do something silly like that. But they do need to do Revelations 3 at some point. That'd be really good to see. But story-wise, no, I don't think it will be the end of Resident Evil. I think it will create a new arc for the series. Perhaps, I don't know, Wesker will be back because there's some genes somewhere and he's been bioengineered and now he's back as... You never know. Resident Evil can be wacky sometimes, but either way, it'd be great to see a new arc. Moving forward to Resident Evil 10, I think that's a whole new story. You couldn't even take any guesses where it would be now. Anyway, talking about Resident Evil 9 still, release. When's it going to release? Well, I genuinely think we will see a glimpse of it 2024, this year. I genuinely think we will. But it will not release this year, obviously. It won't even release early next year. I think we're looking at least late 2025 before we see Resident Evil 9. It could even go into early 2026. There is a little game called Grand Theft Auto 6 that's coming out at the end of 2025, and a lot of people's focus is going to be on that game. So would it be wise to release Resident Evil 9 then? Who knows? I know a lot of people are really going to want Resident Evil 9. It's a day one for me, no matter what. I love Resident Evil. Always have done, always will do. So yes, it's a day one pickup for me. I love Resident Evil 4, and I would love to see the aesthetic of Resident Evil 4 in Resident Evil 9, which in many ways is the same as Resident Evil Village. The RE engine is a fantastic engine. It's just absolutely fantastic. We've seen what Capcom can do with it. We've seen the sort of things they put out with it. It can only get better from Resident Evil 9. So, what are your thoughts on Resident Evil 9? Because I think we really need to see it now. I think everybody is ready to see Resident Evil 9. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And hopefully, if you're watching this and Resident Evil 9 has been announced, everything I said is absolutely true. I really hope it is. But if not, let me know I'm wrong in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.